Fucking PETA. Oh,
Yeah, fuck you, PETA.
I don't think any of us are part of PETA, Tyler. You didn't need to flip us off.
Hey everyone, I'm the Philosopher, and thank you guys so much for tuning into the Console Xplosion podcast. Today we talk about The Watchmen and Assassin's Creed, and more specifically the TV show that's in the rumors on HBO that's going to be on the scale of the Game of Thrones, and then also the movie that's being made starring Michael Fassbender and a few other people. And I got our guest Andrew from A Squared to join us, and he's a very, very huge fan of The Watchmen. You could say he's a fanboy, but he is a very well-spoken fanboy. He makes some very good points as to why he thinks the show shouldn't be made, why The Watchmen comic or graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, is so good. And I learned a lot about The Watchmen that I didn't know before. I saw one of the movies, I think it was a theatrical version. I found out there's an extended version that's even better, and then I found out more about the two people who created The Watchmen. I'm currently going through the graphic novel and reading that, and I've been loving it so much. If you guys have not seen it, definitely go get it. You need to fix that right now. If you haven't seen the movie, go do that as well. It's very, very great. I love it. And then the other thing that we talk about is the Assassin's Creed movie that is in the makes, and we make some great points about that. And we actually do a little bit of learning about why we think the show was going to be good. In the beginning of talking about it, I was on the fence. By the end of it, pretty sure that it's going to be a great movie, and you'll find out why. So definitely check that out. I hope you guys enjoy the show. If you are watching this on YouTube, definitely hit the subscribe button so you can go and watch all our other videos and anything new that's coming out, and all the other great shows that are on theconsolexplosion.com. But again, I'm the Philosopher. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.
Okay, so I have a bunch of people here, all familiar faces. I have Andrew, one half of A Squared. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Then we have Ian, the historic nerd. How's it going?
Great. Always good to be back.
Thank you, thank you. And then we have Tyler, the video game nerd, who lives under a rock, apparently.
Hi!
So today we're going to talk about The Watchmen. They're making, or there's rumors, it's not confirmed just yet, but there's a lot of talk about it being a TV series on HBO. And already you can hear Andrew just not happy about the whole entire thing. But they're trying to do it the same scale as Game of Thrones, and I'm personally pretty excited about it, but it is, I guess, some mixed feelings from Andrew over here, or just like overall not happy about it at all.
Let's say overall not happy about it at all.
At all? Why?
Okay, so just let me get this out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Watchmen is a lot of the times called a graphic novel, but technically it was a 12-issue run from 1986 to 1987 for DC Comics, written by Alan Moore and artist by Dan Gibbons. It ran from September to October, so September 86 to October 87. It essentially revitalized the 80s comic book genre, which was starting to get too boring, by being something completely different. It is listed as one of Time's 100 greatest novels of all time. It's on the Comic Books Authority's one of the greatest comic books of all time, and it was the first. I think it was the first comic book to ever win a Pulitzer. And the reason why is because it's truly one of the greatest things ever put to paper. And you see it when you read it. There's so much behind that you see. The cover is the smiley face with the red on it. What a lot of people don't notice is throughout the entire reading of the graphic is there's tons of that. There's so much color-to-color contrast to make points brought towards each panel or to each scene. Now, inside of The Watchmen is another comic book that's also considered one of the greatest of all time, and that's The Tale of the Black Freighter, and that parallels kind of the moral tale that happens with Watchmen. So why I'm not happy about it is because Watchmen is its own self-contained universe that is essentially a perfect idea. And if you were to expand upon these characters, you're going to have to change them drastically, because a show needs to last for it to make money. Season 1 doesn't make money. Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, that makes money. So if they try to take this 12-issue run and turn it into a 5-season series on HBO, you're going to all of a sudden have these characters that were at times likable and at times pure evil, and they're going to have to completely switch them around. They're going to have to take the comedian and probably not have him be so rapey, which is actually very pertinent and important to the story, or they're going to have to take Dr. Manhattan and probably give him some Sheldon Cooper comedic gimmick, which is going to be horrible. And it's all just one giant cash grab, which is 100% what Watchmen isn't about. So it effectively ruins the spirit of the story to make it the way they're doing it.
I think that might be a bit of a, I don't want to say far-fetched, but I've listened to some interviews from people who have done shows on HBO, and apparently they give a lot of free reign to the writers or the directors of the show. And I feel that HBO, I mean, if you look at Game of Thrones, and they have other great shows as well, there's a really good chance that they will keep that that spirit, that darkness of the Watchmen still in it. I mean, I'm reading through it right now. I'm a little over halfway through it, and I love it. I want to say now I like it more than the movie. The movie was great. For people who haven't read the comic, the movie was fantastic. I still like it. I watched it with my girlfriend, and I really enjoyed it. But there's definitely a lot of things that I feel they could have expanded on in the movie. And I understand your fear about changing the characters, but I don't think that would be the case. I mean, there's still so much like Rorschach, for one. I mean, I think we talked about this, we touched on it a little bit. In the movie, Rorschach is, I wouldn't say he's different, but he's like the lighthearted version of the character in the book, and that's saying something, because in the movie he's still pretty fucked up.
Which version of the movie did you watch? Theatrical, directors, or Ultimate?
I think it was theatrical. I don't think it was the Ultimate.
Okay, the Ultimate one actually expands on him more.
Okay.
And that one's almost 4 hours, because it has Tales of the Black Freighter cut into it. They made an animated version of Tales of the Black Freighter. Cut into it. And that's more like, because I hate the theatrical and director's cut of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I have the director's cut, which is like, what, 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that?
Yeah. But just while I'm thinking about it, you brought up Game of Thrones and how they get a bit more freedom, and they kept the tone of the books. Well, they did that successfully by having George R.R. Martin be there to help them. Alan Moore isn't there. Dan Gibbons isn't there. They want nothing to do with this because they believe it's a bastardization of their work. You can't keep the spirit of somebody's work alive if the people that created it think it's a bastardization of it.
What source did you grab that from? Because I haven't been able to see that anywhere.
If you look up anything about the Watchmen movie or something that was called Before Watchmen, which was a run DC Comics did, a limited run,
Mm-hmm.
and read any of the interviews with Alan Moore, he disowns anything that isn't that original 12-issue run. Dan Gibbons is much more nicer about it. I'm a huge Alan Moore fan. I follow him greatly. Dan Gibbons is much more political about it. Alan Moore basically tells them to go fuck themselves. This isn't his work. It's not his baby.
That's kind of the sad truth about once you sell your comic book property for them. Like, he sold the movie rights back, what, in the late 80s, didn't he?
He didn't sell them. DC did. Because
DC did? Yeah, because I know the movie was in development hell for...
It was in development at Fox for a really long time, and then it went to Sony, and then it went back to Fox, and then ultimately ended up at Legend Pictures. But here's the thing, was in 1986, there was no such thing as independent publishing. You had a couple, maybe, that existed, and you got lucky once in a great while, say like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, got lucky. But since you couldn't independently release your comic book like Moore and Gibbons wanted to, the studio they were originally going to produce the book for went out of business, got bought by DC. DC liked the book, so they released it under the DC banner, but when you release something under a DC banner or a Marvel banner, you're called an independent contractor, and all work you do under them is legally owned by DC. Hence the reason the two original creators of Superman, after so many years, didn't see a dime of it. The guy that created Rocket Raccoon gets no money on Rocket Raccoon. The guy that created Deadpool gets no money on Deadpool, because Marvel and DC are the ones that own the property.
Yeah, that's the sad truth. Now, I will say that it does suck that they don't want the They don't want to have anything to do with the movie or the TV show, I should say. But I still feel like, from what I read, there's people who aren't going to read that graphic novel, at least not right now. I might not personally, or you might not personally like the TV show, but if they do it right, if they do it well, even though they're not included, I really feel like there's a lot of messages and a lot of things that are still very current that people could benefit from. And that the movie got me to read the graphic novel. If it wasn't for the movie, I would have never read the graphic novel. And I feel like it might not be for us, the TV show. It might not be for us to watch. It'll be for other people. That's kind of how like a lot of the comic book movies are. They're not made for us. They're made for the kind of general public, not the hardcore fans. It's sad to say, but for me, I think it's a good thing. I hope if they do go through with it, that it is really well done. They do get a lot of the gritty tones. I don't know. It can't be a continuation the way they ended in the movie and the TV show. I mean, I guess they could, but they have a limited amount of characters unless they create some new ones. But I wouldn't be the Watchmen. So, I mean, it'd have to be some sort of prequel, some sort of middle ground. And I don't know. I still think that with HBO, I don't know who the hell they would get, but there's a good chance that this could be very, very well made.
But I think if one of your concerns is the comedian not being rapey, you got to remember it is HBO.
Yeah.
No, it's not necessarily not being rapey. It's the comedian is not a likable person, and to make a show continue, you do have to sometimes make them more likable.
I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I watched The Walking Dead. There's this one guy, I can't think of his name because I stopped watching the show, but that other cop, you know the one. And
Shane.
Yes. I fucking hated that character. I wanted him to die from like the first time I saw him. His face, the way he acts, the way he like cheated on the girl. I just hated the guy. You need hateable characters, I think, for a show to be good sometimes. Like, look at who likes Joffrey. Joffrey is a
What's Joffrey?
Joffrey.
Game of Thrones.
Joffrey is a character from Game of Thrones. He was like the young king. He was a prince at first, and he became a king, and he was horrible. Like
Wait, was he a princess, or then he became a king?
No, a prince. He was a prince.
Okay.
Like this little blonde boy, and he was I don't want to say the most hated character, but I didn't know anyone who like who didn't want him to die or like and wanted to watch him just suffer in some sort of way. You need those kind of characters. I think it's even possible that they might make the comedian a little bit more hateable and kind of emphasize on, or really make an emphasis on how bad of a person he was, because there was a lot of stuff that, again, I didn't see the ultimate version, but they didn't really get too deep into it in the movie. I don't feel like they touched on it, but they didn't really. I don't think they went as far in detail as in the comic book or the graphic novel.
Well, there's a lot of stuff you can't do in a 3-hour movie that you can do in a 12-comic run.
Right.
Just as far as limitations, as well as like the transition in the comic book between. I haven't read The Watchmen in probably like over 10 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of vague in my mind. But how you transition the story from the main storyline to the Black Freighter, it's just something that's harder to do in a film universe, especially the way they were telling the narrative in the film. Because I really like Zack Snyder as a director. I hated what was that movie he did in the Insane Asylum? Can't remember what that one was, but
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. That's like one of the only movies he's done that I've hated. But
so this is the thing about Zack Snyder, is that he does visual very well. Like he's very good at doing like hard point visuals, but I feel like he's really good at colorful hard point visuals, which sounds weird because he doesn't really like a lot of dark movies. And that was important to Watchmen, and this is one of the biggest issues I had with Watchmen the movie, was the story wasn't about any of the action that happens, because there isn't a whole lot of action in the comic.
Well, also in the comic, the characters were more human and weaker, but in the film, they were pretty much superheroes.
Yeah, they were
kind
superheroes.
of a shift.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in the film's narrative, though, that kind of contributed to the way the story was. And I think if they had gone for the more human element, it would have been a harder film to make. In the comic, that was understandable, but
Yeah, but that's what's lost in the movie, and that's what's
Yeah,
going to be
absolutely.
lost in the TV show. Is people they're still going to make it. They still have to make it marketable.
yeah, true.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
and,
I got a question. What
Yeah.
exactly Watchmen's about? Exactly.
Take it away,
Andrew.
Yeah, you please enlighten me. I heard of the movie. I heard of the graphic novel.
okay, so Watchmen takes place in an alternate universe where vigilante superheroes happen to exist. None of these people technically have superpowers except for one who's caught in a radiation experiment named Dr. Manhattan. But it's not about there being superheroes. It's about being vulnerable. It's about humanity finding an enemy and rallying against it even though they might not be the enemy. It also questions things like vigilantism. Is it okay to kill somebody that, I don't know, murdered kids? Is it all right to use these people to stop riots in a violent way? It's a question of, really, when it boils down, the whole movie is about two things: human naivety, or the book, human naivety, and being vulnerable,
Hmm.
and human vulnerability.
And also in that universe, Nixon is running for his 4th or 5th term in office.
Yeah, the
as president.
term limits
Right.
don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of showing the dark side of the world, like how bad the world can be and how not black and white things all seem to be, and it really shows the fragility of just the world in general, and the cause and effect, like how easy it is for us to go and destroy the world, how one person's decision can really affect a lot of other people, and just living with regret. Like, there's so many characters, and I feel like each one has a little bit something that you can really take from it. These characters are a little bit older. I would say they're at least like at the tail end, they're on the 30s, and then like on the far end, there's some superheroes or heroes, vigilantes that are up in the 50s and 60s, and they're retired, and they have their regrets, or they have these certain things, and they're just dealing with their regular life. They're not vigilantes anymore. Some certain people have passed on their mantle to another person, like a younger version of them, and you get a lot of just real life in this comic book.
Yeah, well, and that was another thing that I feel like that, of course, got lost in the movie because, so, essentially you have three interconnecting stories at any given time, though. Dr. Manhattan tells you time's linear, right, the whole time, or time is just a fold. So you have the Minutemen, who were the 40s and 50s, and everybody loved them. And then you had the Watchmen, who were like the 70s, 80s, or when comic books started to wane, where people didn't care so much about superheroes. Oh, then you had the Black Freighter. But the thing that's lost is in the book, each story is slightly drawn a different way by Dan Gibbons. When you look at the Minutemen, they're drawn like Gold Age Superman. They're chiseled jaw, they look perfect, they're great. When you get to the 70s and 80s, they start to run a bit more lines, they look heavier, they look more realistic, more like human beings. And then when you got the Black Freighter, it's much more just gritty and violent, because Black Freighter, even though it's set in the past, is supposed to be the tone of the future. This is where comic books are going. And that's lost to me in terms of a movie, because you can't, and the TV show, because you can't differentiate your art style like that with humans without tons of CG and makeup, and then it would just probably look weird and turn a lot of people off.
Well, I think the benefit of it being done as a TV show, though, would be you could tell all these different storylines and try to connect them together. They'd have the opportunity to at least stretch out the story more.
The story is important, but the look is equally important.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, the one thing I've noticed about HBO now is they're very committed to making really good product.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what draws people to Game of Thrones, is the fact it's so highly produced. I mean, they're looking at, like, I think they were saying last time, like, one episode of Game of Thrones is something like, is it like $6 million is what they're spending on an episode?
6.6.
Yeah, 6.6 or something like that. So they have a fair amount of money they're putting into these projects. I think they could definitely attempt to pull it off. But I think you're right in the sense that how would they get more than one season out of it? Because, I mean, if you look at the show Rome that was on, it was fantastic. But then they canceled it halfway through the production of season 2. So they had to rush all that crap into the last half of the second season. So that kind of ruined the goal they were going for. So, I mean, they could always do it at a slow pace potentially. But
and there's no doubt in my mind that production-wise, the production value is probably going to be astronomical. Like, HBO does that very well, but my primary issue with it is I don't know how much it's going to be The Watchmen versus just a morally bankrupt thing.
Now, let me ask this though. Opinion aside, if
Sure.
Zack Snyder and HBO did make this, do you think the sales would do well and you just would not like it? Or do you think it would actually just tank?
Yeah, the sales would do well because, there's a whole thing now with nerd culture. It's big. Everything about it is pretty huge at the moment. So I think it would actually do very well. And to be honest with you, I would totally watch a show about morally bankrupt superheroes, but I just don't think making it Watchmen is the way to go. I think Zack Snyder could probably put on a really good show about, again, morally bankrupt superheroes or retired superheroes, that kind of thing, but I just feel like Watchmen isn't one of those. The phrase shouldn't be adapted gets thrown around a lot, and I always felt that about Watchmen, and I still actually kind of do. Even though there's parts about the movie that I like they cast Rorschach perfectly. And anything with Carla Giugiano in it, who is Lori Jupiter, I will watch. And she was cast very well. And the comedian, the cast was great, but it didn't make me feel like how I felt turning the last page of Watchmen.
They really, it seemed like they really weren't telling the same story. They were telling an adaptation for sure, but...
And adaptations work for some things. Like, they work for Spider-Man, they work for Batman or Superman, because there's a million different adaptations out there, so you can take those in other ways. And most of the time, and because there's not someone, the creator of it's not technically going to argue with you, or he just is like, he wants to give you the reins, whereas something like Watchmen is its own self-contained story. It's like making a sequel to Pride and Prejudice or Anna Karenina. Just wouldn't make sense. And that's what Watchmen is to me. It's right up there with those literary works of art. And adding a tank in it. Like drawing a tank on the Mona Lisa to me. I can't. I don't know. Maybe it's just from the writer in me. Because I feel like if I wrote something and said, this is it, this is what I want, this is how I want it to be, but I had to sell it, or I had to do it under a banner, and then they go, we want to make 4 sequels out of it, I would probably cry, legitimately cry, because I would just feel, I said it once, but I would feel like morally bankrupt. I would just not want it to be.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that, I guess you could put this difference there, would be that George R.R. Martin, his background is in television, as far as, what he got started writing.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty sure he wrote his novels with almost a thought in the back of his mind that they be adapted.
I agree. I think he did.
So he definitely had a very maniacal plot in mind as to how he was going to do it, which makes sense considering how murderous his books are. But it's just kind of how it worked out. So he maintained creative control pretty much the entire time based on the way he was presenting his information. With the comic, unfortunately, I think due to the litigation and how they lost the right to their IP, it kind of just, it's in no man's land and belongs to whoever has the money and authority to take it.
Yeah, which is Legend Films in DC Comics at the time, at this point now.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder's production company owns a piece of it.
Mm-hmm. What I want to see Zack Snyder do is adapt Superman Red Sun, but that's just me.
Oh, I love that book, and I would actually, cool. I think that'd be really awesome.
That'd be awesome.
What's that book about?
Superman Red Sun. It's about if Superman crash landed on Earth 12 hours earlier and woke up and was raised in the heart of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So instead of being an American superhero, he becomes a hero of the Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice? Did you notice in the Batman vs. Superman trailer how they used imagery from it, though? Like Batman in the cold suit, and when Superman's walking by the people and they're all bowing down to him.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
Oh,
I noticed that. Huh. There's some really heavy images in Superman Red Sun where they have stuff like that, where because even Batman, because of whatever happened, his family never immigrated from Eastern Europe to the United States. So Batman grew up in the heart of the Soviet Union as well. In this universe, so it's pretty good as far as that goes. So they really get it. Superman's wearing one of those furry Russian hats.
Yeah, it's definitely gotta be, for me, top 5 Superman stories.
Oh yeah.
Don't they see him as a god over there or something like that? Like they revere him as a god?
That's more. Isn't that more Ultraman, like the alternate universe Ultraman, where they act like he's more like a god?
I can't remember. There's so many reboots of Superman now. But essentially in the Red Sun, it was done as more of an ironic thing, considering in the Soviet system everyone's equal, but yet Superman was more equal than all of them. So it was a molestation of this idealistic society they had created, and that was kind of the irony of it, was that this man who was better than all of them was leading them because he was better. Even though in Soviet communism you're all supposed to be equal, even though that never quite actually happened in history. But yeah.
Yeah, they definitely. I'd like to see even an animated version if there is one of that. I'd like to see that.
Oh, I would love to see DC Animation Studios pick that up. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be fun.
I think they're making it.
Is that the same people who did Batman vs. Robin?
Yeah, like those ones.
Okay, yes, I love those.
Gods and Monsters. Oh, so good.
Haven't seen that one.
Or Superman, the Red Mask, or whatever.
Oh no, it's Super. Oh wait, I was thinking of
the Red Hood.
Yeah, the Red.
Batman the Red Hood. Yeah,
I love that. That's my favorite one.
That's a good one too.
My friend totally spoiled it for me because he's more into superheroes than I'll ever be, and he's like, that's the Robin that they killed off.
That's more reason to not spoil it for you. What the hell kind of jackass does that?
He's like,
messed up.
Tyler does. Tyler will bleed that part out.
You know what the best part about that was? Well, the decision to kill Robin back in like the 60s or 50s when they were doing that issue.
Yeah, they voted him off.
They voted on it, and it was like, I think it was like 100 votes to kill him versus 100 votes to save him. It was the difference, like in the thousands of votes sent in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I love things that have a lot of like morally. That's one of the reasons I love the Watchmen is because it messes with morals. It makes you question your morals. You think you have like this perfect line of how morals should be. And like Batman, one of the reasons I've never liked Batman, like you can argue for whatever reason, I don't care, but I don't like Batman because he doesn't kill the Joker. Like for whatever your argument is, that's fine. My personal opinion is he doesn't kill the Joker, and he's an accomplice to murder because the Joker kills other people, and he has the ability to stop him, but he doesn't. And in that movie, one of the best lines or one of the best questions is when Robin or Jason Todd, right, is talking to Batman, and he's like, I'm not mad for this and that, but what I'm mad about is why is he still alive? Why, of all people, did you let the Joker live after what he did to me? And that's very, very powerful. It's like you let Jason Todd die. Like you're essentially like your adopted son to some extent. Your sidekick, your partner. You let him die, and you did nothing about it.
Yeah.
And he has to come back from the Lazarus pit and be this crazy, messed up person because Batman, for whatever reason, will never kill the Joker. And I just loved that they pointed that out. They really talked about that, and that's why I love the Red Hood. I love Jason Todd. He's like one of my favorite DZ characters because of it.
That's probably my favorite part in that movie, actually.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: have they explained why he wouldn't kill the Joker?
His moral code, essentially, he doesn't kill at all.
Because, as he puts it, that line's too easy to cross. Not crossing it's the hard part.
I don't know. What about that? Not the Dark Knight. What was the first one called? Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Okay. What about that one line he said? I'm not killing you. I'm just choosing not to save you. Ain't that the same thing as killing someone?
But are you talking the movie?
Yeah, the Batman Begins, right?
When he leaves Ra's al Ghul in the train to crash into the building.
Yes.
Oh well, he probably didn't even die anyway. But
Well,
even still,
they can put him back in that little pool of his.
the Lazarus pit.
That's when you start getting into adaptations, though, like comic versus movie versus appealing to the masses. Whereas the DC movies, like the animated ones, aren't meant to appeal to the masses. Those are meant to appeal to the nerds.
Right. And it's like what you can do in the Batman Arkham series. You can beat the hell out of someone.
I don't like that one.
And knock them over. I actually like that game.
I don't. I think it's overrated.
I like the first two. Haven't played any of the other ones.
I think all of them are overrated, period.
Damn.
I'm sorry, I don't like them. I don't know why people are making such a big deal about them. I thought
not every game can star ponies or Sailor Moon, Tyler. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me for Watchmen. At this point, I know it's just opinion, and it's probably a little crazy the way I feel about it, but that's just.
I think you make good points, though. I think your argument is very valid. I mean, I love playing devil's advocate. If they did do it, it's probably going to sell well. But the one thing I want to see, whether they stay true to the characters or not, is the main thing for me was just the gray area of morals and that. I think the movie did it really well. I love the movie. It made me question a lot of things. I love movies that make me think. It's very rare for me. I don't watch a lot of movies. But with the Watchmen movie, it really made me think. I really enjoyed everything about it. Rorschach was my favorite character in that. In the graphic novel, he's not as much my favorite character, which is really weird.
Mine in the graphic.
Yeah, and in I don't want to spoil anything, but it's been out for a long time now, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. But I'm not done with it yet. But one of my favorite parts, or most interesting parts, is when he goes to prison. They really expand on it a little bit more. He gets a psychiatrist, and in the beginning, his sessions with the psychiatrist, like you get to see his life throughout the different interviews. And at first he's all happy-go-lucky. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to make this guy. I can do it. I'm going to reform him. Yada yada yada. And by the end, I still don't know what happens to him yet. So if you can spare not spoiling it, that'd be great. If not, I'll survive. But,
no, I shouldn't. But yeah, they expand it a little bit more in the Ultimate Cut. Seriously, you need to.
Really? Yeah, I'll have to watch that.
After you read the book, watch the Ultimate Cut. But keep in mind that the ending of the movie versus the book is pretty different.
I've heard that. I've had part of that kind of spoiled, but it didn't make any sense. So I don't know how spoiled it is for me. But yeah, I've heard it is very, very different.
Yeah, but what they did in the comic works very well for the comic because of how the narrative builds up to it, and the movie just couldn't build to that, so they changed it up entirely. So,
yeah,
it's just a byproduct.
From what I've heard, that makes sense.
Yeah, but you'll like the end. It's excellent. I mean, the whole book's excellent. Obviously, I'm in fucking love with it.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. And I mean, I gotta say, you're doing a good job. Like, I hate to use this word, but obviously you are a fanboy. But this is I love it. It's great.
I don't take that as offensive at all. If someone wants to call me a fanboy, I don't give a shit. I'm too old for name calling to hurt my feelings anymore.
Yeah, I don't mean it as an insult. Like, you can call me a Metal Gear Solid fanboy, and I'll punch you.
I don't take it as an insult. Yeah, I'm a fan, and I'm metal, so you can call me a fanboy of something I'm overly obsessed with.
What's really good though is that like you really voiced what's great about this graphic novel. I think at this point, anyone who doesn't know what it is, either they know why they should read it or shouldn't read it by now. You didn't just say you love it because it's great and this guy is the best god ever and he's a god. You talk about all these reasons that are actually in it. And I agree with everything that you say. I know that money is king when it comes to making movies, and it really sucks. But it's inevitable, with a lot of these things, and so I probably will watch it for sure if it happens. I think it'll be good. Whether it stays true to the graphic novel, that's up in the air. Hopefully it does. I have faith in HBO. They do good work. But yeah, what you have to say definitely makes sense, and those are very valid concerns for someone who loves that series so much. And anyone who hasn't read it yet, I definitely recommend you guys check it out. If you like dark comics or morally gray areas and all the things that we talked about, it's a really great graphic novel. I didn't realize it was as old as you guys said. I never knew that. That makes me like it even more, to be honest, because it's so old.
Oh, it's timeless.
When did it come out?
September '86 was the first issue released, and it ended October '87.
Man, that's older than me. Yeah, and I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but I mean, I feel like that comic book is very timeless with the way they did it. The time frame makes a little bit more sense to me. I didn't realize why it was so far back, but that really makes a lot more sense, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it a lot, and I'm glad I got to sit down and talk about this because I've learned a lot about it. But
yeah, it's definitely something that honestly, I think it should be read in high school. High school seniors should read The Watchmen. I think.
Or psychology or something. Or
Yeah.
sociology.
There's a lot of places where it would actually be a great learning tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just so you guys know, there's a lot of it is a graphic novel, but there are also like little, I don't want to say excerpts, but I mean, I guess it's kind of what it is. Like, there's different books that I can't remember the guy's name, but the original Night Owl, he has a few excerpts from his book in there, and like just different things that you have to, like, a couple of pages of reading. So it's not just the comics and the panels. There's actual, full pages of text that you read that give you different, not always backstory. There's backstory. There's different things in there, and it's just a very interesting combination so far of what is. I'd agree. I'm a big believer in like different forms of media other than just textbooks and stuff like that. Not everyone learns from textbooks. I'm not that kind of guy, but a comic book that makes you think. You see these people talking. You see these characters. It's very, very not mature. It's what is the word I'm looking for? Somebody help me out here. I can't think of what
it's
word.
Strikingly different than anything you'd probably read in a school, but it's also very damn it, now you have me on this. Very well done.
I can't think of the word for it, but I get what you're saying where you're going with being in schools. Maybe college, because it is very, very violent. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem reading it in school, but I know that wouldn't fly in grade school.
I read it the first time when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I
think it would definitely encourage kids who are struggling to read in some respects, but
yeah, I think if we're gonna get a real quick, I think graphic novels in general will help with that, and things like The Dark Knight Returns is a great tale about dealing with aging that would probably help kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to switch gears and talk about the other movie coming out?
Yeah. Actually, I was going to get to that. Something I'm on the fence about. Excited for, not excited for. I love the game series. I haven't played them all, but they're making an Assassin's Creed movie. If you guys haven't heard by now.
Another one? Do we really need another one?
Yeah.
Wait. He means a movie, not a game.
No, seriously, a movie. I have a movie in my collection. I can bring it out.
Well, that was done by that wasn't like a big blockbuster budget one. I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it. I heard it was really good though. There's actually 2 of those, I think. But they're doing like a blockbuster adaptation.
Okay, but here's the thing. Are they going to focus on the games, or is it going to be their own little series?
I think that's still kind of up in the air right now, from what I could tell. They have some big name actors right now. I'm going to go down some of the list of people that I recognize. There's some other ones as well, but like they have Michael Fassbender.
Who's amazing.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Jeremy Irons.
Excellent.
Yeah. Who else do I recognize here? I want to see this. Michael Kenneth Williams. I recognize the guy's face, but I don't recognize the name. He's been in some stuff. But yeah, there's a few other actors and actresses in here that they have some big name stuff, and they're still announcing more. But Michael Fassbender is going to be the main character, who is Callum Lynch. I'll read the quick storyline for you. Through a revolutionary technology that unlocks his genetic memories, Callum Lynch, Michael Fassbender, experiences the adventures of his ancestors, name I can't pronounce, Aguilar, in the 15th century Spain. Callum discovers he's the descendant from a mysterious secret society, the Assassins, and amasses incredible knowledge and skills to take on the oppressive and powerful Templar organization in the present day, written by 20th Century Fox. So it sounds like it is pulling from the idea of the game, but they're doing a different. They're not doing Desmond. They're not doing Ezio, Altair, and any of the other guys. They're doing same idea, different characters.
Just you wait, it's gonna be like Dead or Alive.
Except hopefully good, because they're gonna have good actors in it. By the way,
I don't know, because I don't recognize any of those actors.
Michael Kenneth Williams is Omar from The Wire.
Don't know.
It's always somebody from The Wire.
I have not seen The Wire, or I don't know what The Wire is.
It was a popular show.
A popular show I don't know of.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the early really great HBO shows. So like that and The Sopranos were kind of side by side, but it got overshadowed by The Sopranos, which is sad because I think The Wire was better.
Okay, I have heard Sopranos or Sopranos, whatever, but I have no clue what that show is about.
But this actually seems like there's quite a bit more effort going into it than most other video game movies that aren't just trying to do a quick tie-in, because you've got somebody like Michael Fassbender, who is an excellent actor, and
Jeremy Irons too.
And Jeremy Irons, and the guy that is directing, he's more known for doing character pieces like Macbeth and The Turning and stuff like that. He's from Australia, but I think him and Michael Fassbender are actually friends. So
yeah, something to think about on this one is Michael Fassbender doesn't do crappy projects.
No.
He fully invests himself in the ones he thinks are going to win. Like Prometheus, he pretty much stole that movie because of how good of a character he was in.
Okay, I heard of Prometheus. I don't know what that's about either.
Okay, he was Magneto in Days of Future. Have you seen the X-Men?
The new X-Men movies? He was Magneto in the new ones.
I saw a half of one. The third one?
Jesus Christ, Tyler, culture yourself.
What kind of nerd are you, damn it? God damn, you're not a nerd. Take that card back from you, just gonna snatch it from you.
I'm a game collector who loves playing old retro games.
It's okay.
He doesn't care about new movies. Doesn't care about any of that.
Okay.
No, wait, I did saw Hotel Transylvania.
Oh, yeah.
A couple days ago.
That was important.
Yeah.
And I did watch Justice League earlier today.
Yeah.
The TV show. And I did see Batman Beyond. I had the whole series.
I like that series.
Yeah, that was really good. That was a good
There you
pick
go.
for
I
Batman
do.
universe.
See, this is a series we all can talk about then.
So what I'm going to bet the movie does, it's going to take place somewhere around the 1470s. That way the Inquisition's going to be in, like, full burn there. So they're going to have an opportunity for some really messed up scenery and just storytelling. Just based on the nature of the environment it's in. Because at this point in Spanish history, the Reconquista had just happened, so the Christian North had just forced out the Muslims in the South, and then it was once called the Kingdom of the Three Peoples, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, and then you had the Inquisition, which wiped out the other two. So it'll be a really interesting kind of almost a dark story potential that they have there. So there's a lot of stuff they can work with just because a lot of the architecture in Spain's still there, thankfully. So that, if they're filming it there, it's going to look gorgeous.
See, I can talk about Watchmen, but just go any historical thing, and Ian's just gonna fucking stomp us.
This is why I have you on the show, Ian. That's why I like having you on the show. Exactly why.
Full of knowledge. I know nothing about history.
No, but that's actually that adds to it quite a bit. Like that's something that would excite me greatly to.
Yeah, because just the potential of it being in Spain, set in the 15th century, is just. Awesome. There's so much there for them to work with. And the benefit of it not being limited to like Altierra's story and stuff like that is they're not in the Holy Land. It lets them take advantage of this whole different storyline. And also it lets them introduce Michael Fassbender's character is completely different. Because I'm assuming what they're going to do is it's going to be Michael Fassbender's going to be in the future, and he's going to go back to his ancestor who looks exactly the same. Is probably what they're going to play it as.
Probably.
Probably, because I mean, Michael Fassbender might as well take advantage of the pretty guy. So...
The pretty guy that can act really well, though.
Yeah, the pretty guy that can act pretty well. Might as well put him in both scenes.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really interesting to see how they do that.
What movies has these actors been in?
Michael Fassbender's been in. Have you seen 300?
Yes, I have.
Remember the guy who says, "We'll fight in the shade"?
No.
Damn it, Tyler.
All I can remember.
Okay, well, he was
all I can remember is this is Sparta. That's all I remember.
You're on Butler, but then Michael Fassbender was another character who was very, very, very witty in the story and just did a wonderful job.
Okay. All right.
So he's a really talented actor as far as like I'm gonna find something you've seen him in. I'm gonna do this.
But to add on to what you were saying, another good thing about it being a separate storyline from the games is that they have a lot more room. One, to not fuck up anything, because fanboys are going to be like, oh, the storyline has to be exactly like this. We just talked about that, and with good reason. But also there's a lot of I guess hypothesis or guesses that there's actually multiple lineages of assassins. Like there's talk that the game Sleeping Dogs, Watch Dogs, is in the same universe as Assassin's Creed. I mean, if you've seen the game theorist, he makes a very good argument about it, and the storylines are very interconnecting, and even some of the other games. But that said, it's very probable for other people to have not Abstergo. What is it called? That machine that takes them back. It's very possible for other people to have that bloodline of the assassins and go back and do the same thing. That Ezio or that, huh?
The Animus.
Animus. Thank you. Yes, it's very possible for another bloodline to go and do that, and so it's so much more growth for storyline. And like you said, the director is really good. Michael Fassbender is great. Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons is also another great actor. I mean, the guy played Scar in Lion King. You know.
Okay, yes, I've seen that movie.
There you go.
Oh, we got one! Holy shit!
Okay, yes, that movie was awesome. Yes.
Right. So you have people like that in there. I don't know all the other actors, but you know, I don't usually get excited for movie games, but the more I've learned about this one, or game movies, whatever, it looks good. And with the good line of Marvel movies that have been coming out and DC movies like Batman and hopefully the Superman versus Batman movie, there's been a lot of better quality to these things that are coming out, to these game movies and comic book movies. So hopefully this will follow that trend.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I don't think Hitman will ever follow in these footsteps. But yeah.
Yeah.
The one game series I wanted to have good movies, it never did. But I still liked the first one better than this new piece of crap they just made.
Really? That's sad.
Yeah.
One of the things that it feels like is it almost feels like, even though it's obviously based on the game Assassin's Creed, but it feels like it's not so much based on the game as it's in the universe of Assassin's Creed. It's going to be called Assassin's Creed, but it's entirely its own story, like how they've moved on with new
Assassin's Creed games, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. So I think that's the smart route in terms of this isn't an adaptation, as this is a secondary story to these games.
An expansion.
Which is probably a much better way to go.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
Because they can take elements of the other ones and incorporate them into this one without basically doing scene-for-scene remakes of it, or trying to adapt it, which is usually where they fail pretty miserably.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think it's a waste to do a pretty much a mirror image of a game, or sometimes a book. To be honest, like I like the book, and it's really hard to please that. I mean, it's a different form of media, but if you can expand upon it, hopefully with the blessing of the author or the person, it leads. I feel like you please both people because you expand upon what's already there, but there's also this whole new group of people that haven't even been introduced to this form. So people who don't know about the game Assassin's Creed watch this movie, find out about it, and then they find out there's a game. And the games are phenomenal. I love the first one. People say it's repetitive. I understand that, but it introduced the idea of what the game could be, and the games get gradually better and better and better. I haven't played the newer ones. I've heard bad things, but
yes, the new one's glitched up mess.
I've only played the first one, and I loved the shit out of that game.
Yeah, and I played the second one, and it is, as a game developer, I just loved how much they improved. I had so much respect for Ubisoft and the people who did Assassin's Creed. They started safe, or safe for what it was, and then they just kept getting better. They added more to it. I definitely think that this movie could introduce people into the game, because the game has a great storyline. Like, gameplay aside, I love the storyline because it mixes history and sci-fi, which I liked both of those things. They did it very well, in my opinion. I think it's a very original story, and I think the story itself is something that could be on the silver screen or even in a book, because it's just that crazy. There probably are books by now.
There are books.
Yeah. See, one thing I loved about Assassin's Creed, like my wife is obsessed with them as well. She plays the crap out of them. The thing I really enjoyed about them was that the amount of historical accuracy they've been taking and putting into these games has been exponentially higher than any other project pretty much ever. Because the 3D map they did of the Crusader city in I think the first game of a Cree, I think is what it's called. I can never pronounce it correctly. But like the digital readout and map that they drew of the church is actually more accurate than the ones the museums have. So after they were done with that project, they actually donated that to the museums to let them know exactly how these churches looked.
Wow.
So they've been investing. They've been investing a lot of time and energy in these things. And I think unfortunately, Ubisoft would because I think Assassin's Creed pretty much the company was going under and Assassin's Creed saved them, didn't it? That was the whole thing that happened, if I remember correctly. I could be making this up.
Until the last one, anyway.
Sounds like a good story. Let's go.
But as far as I know, Assassin's Creed was what saved Ubisoft from bankruptcy. And so it's kind of like their baby, so I could totally see how them doing this or letting this movie get made would be incredibly in their control, and them having a lot of creative control over it and not wanting them to screw it up and tarnish the image of their game. So I can see why they would want to invest money and time and energy in this project to make it successful as opposed to just taking a check for movie rights.
Right. And like I said before, I think it's very smart to do an expansion. A good movie first off, but an expansion. It's really hard to please gamers, and when you do a movie, it's stupid hard. And I think it's just way smarter to not even touch Ezio, Altair, or Connor, or any of those other characters. Is make somebody new. I think it's way safer. I think it's way smarter, and I think everyone will be happy, especially with the cast that they have here, the director that they have. It's just. To reiterate, it's just a smart idea. It's a good idea. I think it's going to make them money rather than hurt their reputation.
Yeah, no, I think everything. I think the way they're doing this is very smart. Instead of just pigeonholing themselves to have to try and adapt a game and make Michael Fassbender Ezio or Altair, they're just like giving it to people that love to make films and know how to make a good film. And are saying, here, all it needs to do is be within this world, go to town. It's essentially what I think they did with Joss Whedon and the Avengers.
I just hope they don't screw up. I hope they do tons of research on their current games before they start working on this movie.
Well, yeah, the current ones, unfortunately, I think they've fallen into that whole Madden trap, where because people buy them so fanatically, they want to get them out as quickly as possible. So what? They're only they're producing one a year now or something like that.
They are, but the last one. It was so bad, and I didn't play that one till many months later, because I actually played the what's the one? I played the one they released on the 360 and PS3.
That was that Rogue or something like that.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that more than the ones on the PS4.
Wait, Liberation or Rogue?
I think it was Rogue.
Yeah, because you had Rogue, and then you had Liberation that came up. That was for PS4, Xbox One.
Because Rogue and Rogue that's the guy who he went from assassin to a Templar. And you actually meet one of the characters from the past Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed 3, who happens to be Connor's dad.
Right.
Well, shoot, actually, I can't believe I remember that.
The Templar guy.
Yeah. Thank you, Connor cutout I have.
The funny thing is, I didn't really care for 3 all that much.
I thought it was okay, but was it? Wait, is 3 the ship one?
No, the 3 had ships in it, but it was more the Native American. And
that's right, Native American. Yeah, it was okay, but the one that says mainly focused on the ship, that one was pretty fun, and I thought it was amazing.
Black Flag, right?
Yeah, Black Flag.
Yes, Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, that one looked pretty good. My wife played the crap out of that one. I kind of watched it.
I really want to play that one. I'm going to get into it one day. I want to sit down and just really. Those are not. It's some of those games you can kind of play at 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I really want to just dig into it, enjoy it, get all the extra stuff and whatnot. I do want to real quick read this. I was looking at some information here, and I wanted to just point this out real quick. You guys probably already know, but I just want to read it for the listeners. The terms and conditions surrounding the agreement for the movie were described by Hollywood insiders as unheard of, in quotations, with Ubisoft getting the final say in budget, principal cast, script, release date, and more. So to go back to what we were talking about before about the chance of this movie being really good, it looks like Ubisoft has a really big hand in this. I didn't hear if you guys mentioned that prior to what we're talking about, but.
So I basically called it when I was talking about it.
Yeah. I just wanted to confirm what you guys were talking about. That Ubisoft is having a big involvement in this movie. So even more so now, I definitely have the utmost confidence in this because now it's just Assassin's Creed the game, or the creator of Assassin's Creed, pretty much just putting it a full. I think of it as a big ass cutscene is how I'm going to look at it now. There's no gameplay. It's just a big old cutscene. It's like playing Metal Gear.
Will there be a game adaptation to this one though?
I hope not.
And they replace all the cutscenes with some scenes of the movie.
Based on the way they've been doing Assassin's Creed, I would imagine this would be a standalone element that would actually probably contribute to the games.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I assume as well.
Yeah.
Now, what they might do is maybe have the character or reference the character in a game if they go to Spain at some point. I know the next game is in London, but they might do one where they have the descendant of Desmond go to Spain. I prefer that rather than the latter.
Yeah.
having this be a game. I don't think that'd be good. Movie games.
Well, because for some reason, I thought the Assassin's Creed, their creative goal was to eventually make it to like World War II. I thought it was what they were trying to get to at some point, but I mean, they have a lot of history to cover.
I thought it was modern day.
I actually thought Assassin's Creed were trying to meet up to our time.
Yeah, modern time. I thought that's what their goal was.
Well, I mean, but the thing about the modern time thing, though, is they're already in modern time with the Desmond elements that we were playing.
Yeah, I thought
but it seems like they want to take advantage of all the elements that happened in the past, and that's kind of what intrigues people about the game. So each game incarnation, they're jumping further forward to different key moments in history, and I think maybe they wanted to cover the Inquisition really, really bad, but they couldn't incorporate it into a game, and that's why they're doing it in the movie.
I think that makes sense because
it's a huge turning point in like Christian history as well.
Do you know when the latest Assassin's Creed takes place? The game?
I think the latest one's going to go on in London in like the Industrial Revolution during that period. So I think like 1820s, 1830s.
Okay, so yeah, they're already past this then.
Well, because Unity took place in the French Revolution, which was early 1800s. So you had that going on, and then then the new one, so probably 1840s actually is probably when the newest one's going to be taking place in London.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I know Jack the Ripper is going to be a DLC in that one.
That'd be dark.
Go hunt down Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, I think so.
That's why nobody ever caught him, because you killed him.
Exactly. I love how they do that. I love how they incorporate like either because he was an actual real person, right? Or
he's a real serial killer, yeah.
Okay, right.
Probably one of the most well-known unsolved mysteries in the world is Jack the Ripper.
Well, what was really funny though is you actually had for a brief period in time in English history, you had a bunch of men dressed up in women's clothing wandering around that section of town trying to catch him.
Yep.
And they never did.
They never did.
You're too ugly.
You have some people that actually believe he's H.H. Holmes.
Oh,
the Chicago murder, the white... the White Carnival murder, I think is what...
Was it? That was the guy who built the murder house.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah. So that was...
Yeah, that one.
So, because he was stationed in the Navy in London around that time, then there's another idea that there's a German guy that was Jack the Ripper that got busted, that was, again, stationed around that time, and then got busted for doing the exact same thing to prostitutes in Germany about 4 or 5 years later.
Very possible. It's also possibly died of, like, the cold or something back then, too.
A splinter.
Yeah, like, oh dear, I cut myself. I'm done.
I guess they didn't have good antiseptics back then.
No, not really. They didn't learn about, like, one of the primary problems from that time was like E. coli and bacterial outbreaks because literally they would put their crappers right next to their water sources and they just didn't quite figure it out until
they never they did not put two and two together.
Yeah, like literally like half of Chicago almost died once because they had their septic feed out in the middle of the Great Lake and then they had their water feed like a mile downstream from it where they were pulling their drinking water from, and it's like, really? You didn't think this would happen?
No, totally.
No.
That
probably.
Gross.
Yeah.
You guys disgust me.
Yummy poo water.
You're welcome.
Sometimes history can be disgusting.
Yeah, but the new one taking place in the Dust Revolution, I think, also gives an advantage to take. It also allows them to take advantage of like the steampunk crap that's out there. So who knows what they're gonna do with that?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think we made some good points. Again, guys, check out the Watchmen. Bless you.
Thank you.
Check out the Watchmen graphic novel. It's really great. If you have a local comic book store, I really recommend it. If you guys like comics, it's a must read. It's a long one, so you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna finish it in one day unless you're a really fast reader. I'm a little slow, but it's good. That said, where can they find you, Mr. Andrew?
YouTube, A Squared Game Reviews. I'll be there. Probably won't talk about Watchmen as in depth as I did here, though. So.
I think you should do a video on the Watchmen because you talked about it very well. So I think you do a review of the comic book or something like that. That's just my recommendation.
The way I talked about it is much more serious than I ever am on any of my reviews.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you did great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And where can they find you, Tyler?
Okay, I'm usually last, but
Yeah.
you can find me on YouTube, the Video Game Hunter 32, or you can type in Hot Anime 32, which it will take me to the same channel. You can find me on Twitter, BGH 32, and if you want Facebook, the Video Game Hunter, and sometimes I will draw, and you can find me on DeviantArt, Video Game Hunter.
All right. Yeah, I saw the video as you got muted. Now, for some reason, I called you off next. But yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm tired. I got alcohol in my system. But,
I don't.
And where can they find you, Ian?
You can find me at YouTube, Historic Nerd, or you can find me at my website, www.historicnerd.com, or you can talk to me directly on Twitter, @HistoricNerd. I don't say much, but you're welcome to say something.
There you go. And you can always check out all these guys over on the consoleexplosion.com. We also have the forums where you guys can talk to us. And then last but not least, we definitely have the multi-channel community where you guys can be a part of the Console Explosion podcast. And we definitely appreciate you guys always listening in. But as always, I'm the Philocypher. You can find me on Facebook.com/Philocypher, Twitter @ThePhilocypher, and also YouTube/ThePhilocypher. And then always on the consoleexplosion.com. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.